The Model 3, Tesla's first mass-market electric vehicle, is beginning to arrive at the company's showrooms. While most of the hundreds of thousands of people who pre-ordered the car are still waiting, and probably will be for a while, a lucky few customers have received their Model 3 vehicles. So far, the reviews are positive. A Model 3 owner, Chet Huron, told Business Insider in a phone interview, "I like it a lot. I almost like it better than my S, just because it's a little smaller." While he said the Model 3's handling was a little stiffer than that of the pricier Model S, he said the Model 3 felt quicker and was easier to maneuver. Huron's biggest problem so far was a small one: the front driver's side door doesn't close as easily as he'd like. He said, "I keep closing it and it doesn't latch. It's just annoying that you have to open the door back up and close it back. I've done it probably a dozen times already since I've had it." Huron's impressions resemble those expressed by Reddit users who have posted reviews of the car. They have praised the car's handling and acceleration and were bothered mostly by small, technical problems. The Reddit user Soyak wrote, "Picked up the 3 yesterday and noticed how boat-like the S is by comparison. Aside from the overall feel, there is one area that I'm extremely pleased with in the 3. And that's U-turns. The S requires about 3 lanes width to make it, sometimes requiring a 3-point turn, whereas the 3 can do it comfortably with 2. The Reddit user Goldie LL wrote, "Car is fun to drive, I guess 0.2 seconds slower than the X, but it feels like it is slightly faster. Overall a pretty great car. Some premium features of the X are definitely missed, but that's to be expected for $40K less. I don't think I'll default to wanting to drive the X, now my wife's car, over this one. However, there are some technical hiccups." Another Reddit user, The Yeags, described a hiccup with the Model 3's Bluetooth features. The Yeags wrote, "The car is constantly connecting to our phone's Bluetooth every few minutes. This results in the car waking up and unfolding the mirrors, all day long. If this issue isn't resolved quickly, the motors in the mirror will eventually wear out." The positive responses the Model 3 has received so far are good news for Tesla, which has struggled to meet its production goals for the vehicle, and consistent with the long-term satisfaction Tesla owners have reported with the company's cars. For Tesla to even come close to the lofty market capitalization goals set out in a new compensation plan proposed for CEO Elon Musk, the company will have to find success among consumers who can't afford Tesla's high-end vehicles. Solving the Model 3's production issues and working to fulfill the car's pre-orders in a somewhat timely manner would be a good first step.
The 2018 Nissan Leaf faces much stiffer competition than its predecessor, but then again, it promises to be better all around. What car notes in their review, from the new exterior design to the significantly updated cabin, the zero-emission hatchback might very well be the one that could convince a number of people to spend their money on an EV. All trim levels are nicely equipped and included a standard infotainment system with Bluetooth, DAB digital radio, sat-nav, and Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Moreover, interior space has improved over its predecessor, but while the legroom on the rear bench is quite good for 2 adults, the headroom is not as good as in a VW e-Golf. The range is one of the decisive factors when buying an EV, and in the new Leaf, this is up to 235 miles, about 378 kilometers, in the NEDC. However, in the real world, you're less likely to achieve it, and when the temperatures drop, you should expect to drive it for just a little over 100 miles, about 161 kilometers, between charges, which is more than an e-Golf, but less than a Renault Zoe. So, is this enough to convince you to go for an EV instead of a petrol or diesel-powered model?
Subaru made things interesting for the average car buyer and created two vehicles that seem to compete with each other in matters of options and facilities. The Subaru Outback is one of the best station wagons on the market, in direct competition with names such as Volvo or Audi. The Subaru Forester is an SUV that is placed among the top competitors of its kind. You might think that, belonging to different categories, a wagon and an SUV might not have a lot in common, but Subaru made sure that there are many aspects in the case of which this rule does not really apply. However, there are also some differences between the two siblings. The first difference would be in the price, the Forester being noticeably cheaper than the Outback, with approximately $3,000. However, judging the two models in relation to the categories they belong to, they both come at a very acceptable price. As far as how comfortable the two cars are, they both provide a very good space, with quality materials and similar seat functionality. Both models have 5 seats, with enough space for the passengers to enjoy a comfortable and relaxing ride. However, the Outback comes with a better build quality and also slightly better textures and materials, with a more visible focus on design but also on the performance of the equipment. Another similarity between the two cars is that both models come with the same type of engine and they are both easy to handle in any environment. However, the Forester has been declared better and faster in terms of acceleration, but also cost efficiency. On the other side, the Outback scored very well at a very important aspect when it comes to choosing a car and has been declared the safest ride among the two models, with enhanced safety features that made it react very well in crash resistance tests. In the end, both Subaru models provide attractive features and functionality, which are similar in many ways. It is up to the buyer to decide which of the two cars is better for their purpose.
The original unofficial Tesla Model 3 road trip in North America gave thousands of reservation holders the opportunity to see the vehicle in person weeks or even months in advance. Now, the Model 3 owner behind the effort is doing it again, but this time in Europe. The Model 3 is not expected to officially arrive in Europe until the end of the year, but Yu Zhu, the man behind the project, is shipping his Model 3 to the UK, where he goes to school, and plans to set out on a European road trip with the vehicle. The North American road trip was already a great adventure that offered its own set of challenges, like when you in Quebec in the middle of a harsh winter and he didn't have any winter tires for his Model 3. Another issue was the fact that Model 3 vehicles were only delivered in California at the time and Tesla's service centers around the rest of the country couldn't easily service the vehicle yet. But that's nothing compared to the complexity of a trip in Europe, where we will not only face the same challenges, but also the lack of compatible charging stations and onboard internet connection. For those reasons, Yu told that Tesla tried to discourage him from going on this trip, but he apparently liked the experience enough to try to replicate it in Europe and give local reservation holders and Tesla fans the opportunity to see the vehicle in person months in advance of the official European launch. He is still working on his itinerary, but here are his planned stops in Europe so far. It appears significantly less ambitious than his North American road trip, where he stopped at several dozen more locations and traveled over 20,000 kilometers while giving 450 test drives, but he relied heavily on Tesla's supercharger network during that trip and he will not be able to do that in Europe. Tesla uses its own proprietary charge connector in the US, which is the same connector found on Yu's Model 3, but the automaker uses the Type 2 standard in Europe. He told that he found a makeshift Type 2 to Tesla charging adapter that should work with his Model 3 for level 2 stations up to 40 amp, but it doesn't work with DC fast charging stations, like Tesla's superchargers. It means that you will have to stop to charge for much longer periods of time throughout the trip, a problem that European Spec-Ed Model 3 vehicles will not have when the electric car will officially launch later this year, but it's an issue for people who want to import the car from the US.